Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's podcast with me in the Menopause Made Easy podcast. Today, we're going to talk about social jet lag. And I find this so interesting and something that I have been playing with for many, many years, but just, put a name to it here. So, what is social jet lag and why should you care? Well, I've done many episodes with my beautiful friend, Coach Carolyn, and some solo podcast episodes about the importance of sleep. And I am a sleep, stress, and recovery coach, among many other things. And if we don't have our sleep dialed in, it can affect our cravings, our blood sugar levels. It can affect our moods, our energy. And it's that important. It is one of the pillars of good health. So, what is an example of social jet lag? So, for example, social jet lag is when you have a regular routine during the week, like waking up at 6, and or 7, whatever time you get up. And on the weekends, you stay up later and you don't get out of bed until later. And this shift in your sleep schedule on the weekends compared to the weekdays is what we call social jet lag. So, one thing, like I always say, you can't measure what you don't manage. So it's really important before we start like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? The first thing I would do is, again, also, this is also very interesting that I'm talking about this in springtime, but it changes with the seasons. I find that my sleep changes from each season, most drastically, the darkness to the lightness. So this is a really pivotal time of year for me for looking at a lot of different things about, okay, the spring energy is coming in, the days are getting longer, or the light hours are getting longer. What shifts am I seeing? Right. And so typically this time of year, I just get up earlier. And in the past, I stay up really late, but I have really been working on trying to maintain a better consistent sleep schedule just for my health. It's not, 100%, but anyway. So the first thing I would do is, do this a few times, 4 times a year when the seasons change. And what time do you get out of bed? And what time do you go to bed? And is that pretty consistent 7 days a week? Does it shift? What are your habits like? What do you notice with your sleep? Maybe this is one of the reasons that you are not sleeping well, and one little tweak you could make to improve your sleep quality. You just never know. So I'm going to tell you what it feels like to have this social jet lag, but it makes you feel tired. And so many women I talk to, they're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Even after a full night's sleep, you might struggle to wake up in the morning. You feel sleepy and unfocused during the day. And it can always feel like you're trying to catch up on sleep, but you're just never quite getting there. So again, before turning to drugs and medication, I always try and find a natural way, which may take you a while to cycle into this. But remember, we are a product of our habits. And if we just take a pill and we don't change the habit, it may reduce the symptom or the signs and symptoms for a little while, but you haven't addressed the root cause, which is really what I dive into a lot in my midlife reboot program. What is the root cause so that you can thrive after the age of 35? And I'm working with ladies in their 70s. There's a confusion out there, just a little side note, that some people say, oh, Tanya, I don't listen to your podcast because I've already gone through menopause. Menopause is one day. You can listen to episode number 2, I believe, which tells you the difference between perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. I have a lot of postmenopause women in my midlife reboot program because they've gained weight. They don't have the energy they used to have. Their muscles are deteriorating. Their bones are deteriorating. And they are taking note of their health. I have some people who are perimenopause in my group because they're trying to prevent all of these things from happening by changing their habits now. I don't have one single person on menopause because menopause is one day. Okay, it's the end of your 12 months without a period. So Menopause Made Easy is this journey of whether you want to spend time listening to me to be preventative so that you can make sure you have muscle mass and bones and mental clarity and, you know, good healthy habits so that you can sail through your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond. And if you are postmenopausal, that you can learn how to really, you know, dive into your health so that you are vibrant and energetic and taking the trips you want to take and playing with your grandkids and you don't have achy knees and achy hips and you're just so tired all the time. Okay, back on track here. So one of these things is looking at our sleep. And so one word I'm using a lot these days is intentional. And sleep, I'm working on my brain health, it is absolutely necessary for a strong functioning brain because when you sleep, your brain actually goes through a process and it detoxes. Anyway, I'll talk more about that later. Okay, so we've talked about what is social jet lag. It is when you have an inconsistent waking and sleeping routine. So it changes maybe during the week. I notice mine sometimes because I have earlier clients on some days and later clients on other days, that some days when I have my later clients, I sleep in a little longer, but I'm going to rectify this. Because what happens is then I go to bed later and I feel like I'm constantly catching up and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I am going to work on having a more consistent routine, which I did start last summer by not staying out so late. That's another story. Okay, so what does your week look like? Are you consistently getting up at the same time? Yay. Or maybe you're having problems going to sleep at the same time every night. I know for myself, I'm going to be completely transparent and vulnerable because why wouldn't I be? Is that I fluctuate with my bedtime and I feel, so these are some of the things that I'm working through, is that I have time I want to read, I want to lay on my infrared mat, I want my saunas, I just, there's things I want to do, and sometimes I want to watch Netflix. And because I haven't done them during the day, I can feel myself getting sleepy at night, but I'm like, okay, I'll just watch one show. And then, oh my gosh, I'm watched 3 shows and it's past my bedtime. So I have been very intentional about saying like after 7, no more work, or sometimes after 6, like I'm really trying to play with this. This is your time to watch Netflix. If you haven't started by 8 o'clock, then you must go to reading. So I've been playing with this. I haven't quite mastered exactly what I want to do yet. And again, like I said, my summer is a little different than my winter, which is a little different than my spring and fall. But I'm going to really pay attention to my consistency over the next little while here. Okay, so we've talked about social jet lag. We've talked about the feelings of social jet lag where you're constantly tired. Even after waking up from a full night's sleep, you struggle to stay awake. You're sleepy, you're unfocused, right? You're always trying to catch up on the sleep. Now, why care about this? Honestly, why care? What are some of the negative health consequences of social jet lag? Well, they can include a range of issues like poor sleep quality, mood swings, difficulty concentrating, reduced productivity. It can also increase the risk of more serious health problems like obesity, heart disease, diabetes, right? Because we are ongoingly disrupting our sleep and biological rhythms. And I'm sure you've heard a lot more lately in the, in the press, in whatever you're listening to, about circadian rhythm. And we have an evolutionary mismatch right now. We have been living in a very short period of time with light and electricity and temperature control. We have spent most of our human life, thousands of years, without light, without temperature control. And so I'm going to keep this on light, but we need to start to understand that we are not living how we've lived most of our lives, and that our cells, I've talked about this a lot, are still living in that world. They have not caught up to this modern day world. Now, do I love light and electricity? You bet I do. So how can I start to work with the light, with the circadian rhythm, and still, not become a hermit in this life? And if you listen to my podcast episode with Nadine from Living Libations, it's probably number 120, I think, in around there. We talk a lot about light. And now she's gone very extreme. I couldn't go around and tape up, all the blue light and my alarm clock radio, but that's her path. So you have to live your path. So what did I do after having that interview with her is I actually went and bought just 2 light bulbs and replaced it with the non-flickering soft light beside my bed. That's it. That's all I did. Okay. So out of that podcast interview, I did one simple shift that I can do. Did I change all the light bulbs in my house? No, but I changed the one that I am in my room. That to me is an example of a simple shift, something I can do, doable action, and then I will take it from there. And I've really been working with circadian rhythm on myself for probably the last 2 years, just tweaking, what can I do? And anyway, that brings me to today's podcast on the social jet lag. So there are negative consequences to not sleeping properly. And I would like to look at my habits and see where I can tweak my habits so that I can, avoid getting any of these issues. All right. So what is sleep debt? Sleep debt is the difference between the amount of sleep you should be getting and the amount you actually get. And it basically accumulates over time. So if you miss one night, you may be not feeling so bad, but you miss 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you just get into this chronic tiredness, and then these potential health issues can come up. And listen, I look at times in my life when I had children, oh my gosh, right? I mean, I still have children, but when they were younger, when they were little babies, was my sleep disrupted? Yeah. But that's like my children. I'm going to get up in the middle of the night and deal with what they need to be dealt with. I have dogs. Actually, I only have one now. I lost my poor, beautiful Lexi on March 18th. She said, Tanya, after 17 years and 4 months, I'm going to say goodbye to you. And she just said, I'm not eating. I'm not going to drink anymore. And we put her down. Oh my gosh. But she was ready, and we had such a blessed life with her. But I just noticed from the last few years of her life, and plus we got a puppy, that my sleep's been disrupted. So I'm not talking about perfection. I don't live in a perfect bubble. What I'm trying to do, actually, what I am doing is how can I use this information to bring habits into my life that will improve my sleep over time. What habits can I start to do? Okay, so definitely I've had periods of sleep debt. And if you're going through menopause, it can be very disruptive to sleep. I had night sweats where my bed sheets were soaking wet. This was more in my early 40s when I really learned how my daily habits affected my night habits in terms of alcohol and sugar intake. And so I've been working at reducing those over the years. Again, I am not an all or nothing person. I really do look at the changes I need to make. What simple shift do I need to make? How can I incorporate this so that it's sustainable for the next 30, 40 years of my life? I let go of the all or nothing diet mentality of all changes in my early 30s, mid 30s. So yes, there are going to be periods of time where you have this sleep debt, but what can you do? What can you notice about yourself to help you start to improve your sleep quality? And again, this is one of the things we talk about in my midlife reboot program. Maybe it's an issue for you, maybe it's not. But if it is, it's one of the things we talk about. And I know that my participants sleep better. They just sleep better now, and they know what to do. They know what it is for them, instead of being overwhelmed and confused and like, oh my God, what is it? Where do I start? You really start to become more aware of how you are feeling and what you're doing and how it's impacting you. All right, so why is having a sleep schedule important? It's important because it regulates your body's internal clock, which is called the circadian rhythm. And this regulation is crucial for good sleep quality and overall health. And a consistent sleep schedule helps your body anticipate when to feel sleepy and when to wake up, which makes it easier to fall asleep and wake up rested. Okay, women have two clocks. We have a circadian rhythm and we have an infradian. And I've said that wrong because my head can't quite get the words out of my brain into my verbal awareness. Women have a 24-hour clock and a 28-30 day clock. Men have a 24-hour clock. And this is why you're going to start to see changes in the workforce, I believe, because a man's day is around his 24-hour clock, and women are no longer, not every woman, okay, but a lot of women are finding that they cannot function stress-wise, hormonally wise, as they get into these later years on that 24-hour clock. Okay, so it is important for us to understand, I'll do another podcast episode about this, that we do have that 28-hour, or sorry, 28, 30-day clock. And we talk again a lot about this in my midlife reboot program, because it's really important to understand that how you eat, how you move, how you fast, your emotions, they tie into your monthly rhythm. And if you are postmenopausal, okay, so you no longer have a period, you still have somewhat of a rhythm, but it's a little more nuanced, like it's not as, I don't want to use the word strict, but it has a little more leeway, let's just call it. Okay, so what can we do to look, what are some 5 steps? Let's talk about 5 steps here to mindfully, intentionally, look at this social jet lag. Okay, so one is, like I said, let's see what time you go to bed. Sorry, yeah, what time do you go to bed? What time do you wake up? Track that for like a month and just notice, I have some data now. I have some raw data. Okay, can I begin to stick to a consistent sleep schedule each and every day? Why and why not? Okay, so start to figure out, if you cannot, what's going on, and that gives you insight. And then just do the best you can, because doing this helps your body's internal clock to get into a rhythm and reduces the impact of that social jet lag. All right, so I've talked about this, and Coach Carolyn and I have talked a lot about this, but having a bedtime routine to help you wind down. And that's why I used to burn the candle into the wee hours of the night, working and raising children, and I was exhausted. Oh my gosh. And I was moody, and I was eating a lot of sugar, and I was eating food to like increase my energy. Okay, so I had a consistent, mostly routine, bedtime routine with my children. Why didn't I do that to myself? And so now, when you know better, you do better, and I do. Okay, and so this kind of leads into creating that relaxing bedtime routine. So what are some things that you can do to calm you? So a couple of things I know don't calm me anymore. I cannot watch television that fires me up, because all night long this has happened to me, and my heart's racing and I'm thinking, or else I'm just in a state of fear from what I've watched. So I honestly, I've told you guys for years, I don't watch television, like the television, but I do watch Netflix or programs without commercials, so that I don't have to hear any commercials. And And I also, with my Netflix, have really had to choose which things I watch at the end of the day. So again, a simple shift, but it works. I also realized that I cannot read my health and fitness and mindset and my workbooks like before bedtime reading, because again, then I'm thinking, oh my God, I can help so-and-so, I can help so-and-so. Oh my God, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that. So I can only read those things during the day. So nighttime is for my, novels that I love reading. I'm a huge reader. I love taking a warm bath. I love sitting in my sauna. I have an infrared frequency mat. And these things calm my body down. So I've really learned what I can and cannot do to get me into a relaxed state for bedtime. Now, this one we've talked about as well in our podcast beforehand today, but really working with the natural light. So again, we have an evolutionary mishmash. We used to spend most of our days outside. Now we spend most of our days inside. Okay, so where can you go outside during your day? Can you start to take phone calls outside? Can you read outside? Can you check your phone outside? Can you go for a walk outside? And this natural light helps regulate your circadian rhythm, making it easier for you to wake up and feel alert. So now that it's a little bit warmer outside and there's no more snow on my deck, and again, I'm taping this on April the 10th. This is going to air in a little bit. But now I go outside, it's still chilly, but I brush my teeth outside. I might do my dry brushing or my face brushing or, one of the various routines that I do. And I've even wrapped myself in a blanket this week and sat outside with a cup of tea and read my book. And so I am just absolutely much more aware of how can I be outside? What activities can I do outside? I don't need to be moving. I can just sit there, relax, read my book. And it's just really that important to get the natural light. And again, listen to my episode with Nadine because we do a major deep dive into that. And you want to stay active during most of your day. Most of us are sitting now during the day, and then we don't. Okay, so there's a couple of things that happen. We sit most of the day, and then some of us are having intense workouts close to bedtime, and that's affecting our sleep. Okay, some of us are not even moving at all. And so by bedtime, your body's like, well, you haven't done anything. I'm not even tired. So again, notice, when do you get better night's sleep? Is it because you move at certain times of the day? How much movement, how much fresh air? Like, we're all N of one. You have to find what works for you and become the CEO of your health. This is not just about going to your doctor and getting a pill. It's about how can I upgrade my habits in the current situation that I have to best improve my health. And if I have done all of those things, right, then I may need some additional support. But this is just my point of view. Anyway, I'm not a person that's reliant on pills for helping me. I really try and do these lifestyle shifts first. And that's a whole other podcast. So are you moving your body in a regular way every single day? Do you notice a difference and how that helps you with your sleep? Maybe you need to shift your workout time. I'm working with this with my husband. I'm getting a lot of flack from him, to try and get his workout back to a time where it's not in the evening, and also trying to get him to change a little bit of his workout. And that's what I work with women too, is that some of you are working out way too hard, okay? And you're not adding that balanced piece in of doing some stretching and band work. And I just did a hand class this week. We spent half an hour working on our hands. And the ladies, we do this every 6 weeks, hands and feet. We also do face classes, but they're just like, thank you, Tanya. I would not do this by myself. We need to bring those workouts into our day. All right. So when we have, just watch your intensity of exercise, but maybe for you, going on a nice, gentle walk, watching the sun set, and it's calming, can help you fall asleep. So I'm not saying don't move your body. I'm saying notice how you move your body, right? And so I know that one of my routines is I eat dinner, and then I walk Boudica around the pond, I used to walk all 3 dogs around the pond, but it's been a sad 7 months. So I have Booty Boo, and we have a nice walk around the pond, and the light is fading, and then I come in and I carry on with my nighttime routine. So find what works for you. Also, one thing to be really aware of is what you eat and drink before bed really can impact your sleep. Heavy meals, caffeine, alcohol really disrupt your sleep patterns and make it hard for a restful night of sleep. And this again, notice your, track it. What are you eating? How close to bedtime are you eating? How is it making you feel? I can 100% say that if I eat too many simple carbohydrates, desserts, fluffy carbs, have any alcohol in the evening, it impacts my sleep. I didn't want to believe it. I still wish it wasn't true, but those are the facts for my body. It impacts my sleep. So I have to decide, is it worth messing up my sleep to drink and eat close to bedtime? And sometimes I do it because, like I said, I don't want to be a hermit. I would like to, go out with my friends. I would be a lunchtime person. If I could get all my friends to go for a lunch instead of dinner, that would be my priority. But that just doesn't happen a lot of the time. So I like my friends and I like hanging out with them, but I don't do it every day. And so this is one thing where I really work with people, is that it's your most of the time habits, not the once a month or maybe 4 times a month kind of thing. It is, and we could do another offshoot on there, but anyway, I'll talk about that some other time. It's what are you doing most of the time? And then what you're doing most of the time, how can we get those habits in line so that you cannot experience social jet lag, and all the repercussions that come out of that. Okay, ladies, that has been a great conversation about jet lag. And not jet lag. Oh my gosh, I've got some travel coming up. I'm definitely going to be having some jet lag, some social jet lag. And I just want to reiterate again the importance of your circadian rhythm, which is that internal schedule. And I love this fact, everybody. Every cell in your body has a little clock on it. Just think about that. And I'll talk more about that, in another episode. But it tells us when to sleep, when to wake up, when to eat, and so much more. And it responds to light and darkness in our environment, which really helps with the sleep-wake cycle, which is what I'm really trying to stay on task for today. All right. And this social jet lag really can mess us up. So it confuses our bodies. So just notice if this is a little area that you can play with, and please share this with your lovely ladies. Okay. We are meant to help and elevate each other. And I really want you to want to help the women in your life by sharing this information that they may or may not be hearing. And of course, I would like it if you could share and subscribe and rate my podcast, because that's how other people find me. And I have information that can really up-level your life. I am confident in saying that. And we need each other. Women really are a fabric of supporting other people in their lives. Like if I'm no good to me, then how can I be good to my children and my parents and my husband, right? So I need to look after me, and I want my friends to have the same benefits so that they can, feel great in their day, but also be a really solid rock for their family and friends. So I thank you for rating, subscribing, and sharing my podcast. If you can find it in your heart to do that, I would be greatly appreciated. And this has no age. I look at my children and there's definitely a lot of social jet lag going on there. But anyway, we'll save that for another day. Healthy hugs, everybody, and we'll see you in the next episode.